What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out IGN's ranking of all the Star Wars movies. So before we jump into this, I do want to say if you guys want to check out my personal ranking, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But for this video, I'm going to be reacting to their list, and I'm going to be giving my thoughts on if I agree with them or if I disagree with them, if I think that their points make sense or if I think that their points are not real. So if you guys enjoy this video, want to see more like this, if you find any ranks you want to see me react to and give my opinions on, let me know in the comments below, because if I use your suggestion, I will give you a shout out in that video. But with that said, let's jump in. Ranking all Star Wars movies from worst to best.
After 4 decades and 8 episodes, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker was supposed to bring the Skywalker saga to a satisfying conclusion, but instead of going out with a bang, it ended with something more akin to that noise the Sarlacc pit made after eating a bounty hunter. Simply put, the film just doesn't work. It's full of unearned moments, inconsequential characters, and plot twists that hurt your head the more you think about them. And don't get us started on Chewie's death fake-out. But hey, at least Babu Frick. Yet what truly makes Episode 9 a difficult watch is its lack of commitment to the events of The Last Jedi, and so we watch as the plot bends over backwards to rewrite Star Wars lore, rather than building off what came before to deliver fans a more fitting conclusion.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
While Star Wars Attack of the Clones may have an exciting title, it's one of the most boring movies in the franchise, even with its redeeming qualities. Watching Obi-Wan Kenobi play Jedi detective as he investigates the Separatist movement and the enigmatic Count Dooku is the highlight of the film. Not to mention some amazing action sequences, including the chase through Coruscant, the Jedi bounty hunter battle on Kamino, and a truly wizard duel featuring the frog-hopping Master Yoda. But the film is otherwise bogged down by uneven pacing, wooden dialogue, and dramatic moments that wind up being unintentionally funny. There's no better example of all of this than Anakin and Padme's snooze fest of a romance. What was supposed to be a love worth sacrificing the galaxy for instead ends up making us want to stick our heads in the sand.
I don't like sand.
In the end, Episode 2 is more fondly remembered for the things it sets up in the greater Star Wars canon, looking at you, Clone Wars, than for how good of a movie it is on its own merits.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Before we continue, I want to say that for these first 2 movie suggestions, I think it's fair where they're putting it out. I understand the arguments. So for that, I'm gonna say it's okay. It's okay so far.
While we'll always love Star Wars The Phantom Menace for bringing Star Wars back to the masses in 1999 and introducing a whole new generation to a galaxy far, far away, that doesn't mean it's as strong a trilogy starter as A New Hope or The Force Awakens. Don't get us wrong, the film gets credit for introducing franchise staples such as the Jedi Order and the city planet of Coruscant, while continuing the series' tradition of peerless visual effects and music. Who doesn't love the pod race and the duel of the fates?
Yeah.
But the praise dries up faster than a closing Naboo Palace security door. When you start to consider the dull political plot, clunky storytelling, and a cast full of ill-conceived characters. From the cringy antics of Jar Jar Binks to the over-the-top enthusiasm of a too young Anakin Skywalker, not to mention the overstuffed third act that struggles to juggle 4 different conflicts, Episode 1 never seems to go long without taking yet another misstep.
Very bad. Oh!
Okay, like I understand why Episode 1 would be there. I don't know if I agree with every single one of their arguments. But like, I'm not against their placing, so I guess I'll just leave it there.
While Rogue One gave fans hope for the A Star Wars Story subtitle, the anthology angle would be swiftly shelved by Lucasfilm after the poor reception to its second entry, simply titled Solo. Where its predecessor made the wise choice to focus more on new characters while allowing for cameos of franchise favorites, Solo took the opposite route, casting Alden Ehrenreich as one of the series' most beloved protagonists, Han Solo, and asking audiences to buy in. Spoiler, they did not.
Look, I came up running scams on the streets of Corellia. I was boosting AV-21s when I was 10. I'm a driver, a flyer, and hey, you said yourself, I gotta get out of here. right?
Drawing loose inspiration from the A.C. Crispin novels of the Legends era, Ehrenreich's earnest take on the galaxy's scruffiest nerf herder wasn't bad, but between the uninspired plot and the ho-hum stakes, the movie as a whole definitely had room for improvement. Ultimately, Solo felt like it was trying to answer a lot of questions that nobody asked, and the ones that had been were probably left unanswered anyways.
Who are your people?
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo?
As with all Star Wars movies, there are things to enjoy about it. If you have to recast,
Yeah, that was always a weird
president,
scene.
Putting Donald Glover under the cape is an
Kind of a
inspired
forced
choice,
scene.
and the levitating train heist is a good time. But ultimately, Solo proves to be a one-and-done kind of Star Wars story.
Yeah, I think ultimately that's what Solo. The biggest issue with Solo is that, it is like a story that like you don't feel like you really care about, and it's not because you don't care about Han, because we all love Han. It's the story itself feels like it didn't need to exist, and they made it just because money. You know what I mean? And because of that reason, it pulls back the entire movie altogether. Now, I will say this: I do think that the main actor who did Han Solo, I actually really do like him. I thought he did a good job with what he had. It's just very hard to be. It's hard to be Harrison Ford, believe it or not. It seems like it's simple, but it really is a tougher thing to do. So, Donald Glover as young Lando, I don't blame any of the cast. I think the cast all were great. It's the story. It's the fact that the story itself just felt irrelevant and not needed. So, was it a fun and entertaining movie at points? Yeah, it was. But yeah, as far as other things go, it is what it is. They're not about to put Revenge at number 6, are they?
Star Wars Revenge
Number
of the
7.
Sith.
What are you doing? Revenge of the Sith at number 7? Oh my gosh. Okay. Before I tackle this, I'm going to hear what they have to say. They better have some good reasons for this.
Retains many
Let's
of
hear
the
it.
hallmark flaws of the prequels. Goofy dialogue, pacing issues, and over-reliance on CGI, but it does find far more success in making the audience feel something. The execution of Order 66 brings real dramatic weight to the conclusion of the Clone Wars, as we see firsthand the tragedy that changed the fate of the galaxy forever. Watching poor Master Yoda clutch his little frog heart gets us every time. Even though Episode 3 has some undeniable strengths, it's frequently undermined by its weaknesses. Anakin's downfall doesn't feel as convincing as it should, largely thanks to the muted romance with Padme. The Jedi Order's late discovery of Palpatine's treachery, when it's so blatantly obvious, makes them look incompetent at the worst time. And while Ewan McGregor sells Obi-Wan's devastating heartbreak during his fiery duel with Anakin, one great performance isn't quite enough to wash out the taste of the others. Still, Revenge of the Sith is the strongest of the prequel trilogy, in large part thanks to its many memorable moments, and we have to credit it for that.
I understand what arguments they're making. I just disagree with some of them. Primarily, the idea of Ewan McGregor being the only good actor. I think that everyone in that movie did a great job. The biggest problem with the prequels is the dialogue. We all know that. I don't think that's something you can really fight against. We know that. But as far as the story goes, the characters, I think every actor is always giving like 100%, or at least by Revenge of the Sith. You could make arguments for episode 1 and 2. That's fine. But episode 3, I think everyone's giving their all for the character they're supposed to be. I just couldn't put Revenge of the Sith this high at number 7. That means they're putting it behind Rogue One. They're putting it behind Last Jedi. I'm okay with other people's opinions, but this is a fail. I'm not saying that Revenge of the Sith has to be everyone's favorite movie. But if you have it at number 7, your list is just wrong. That's just how it is. It has to be in the top 5 at least. You cannot put it in 7, especially not behind Last Jedi. Just saying. So, okay, let's continue. Maybe I'll change my mind with their list as we go on further. Let's see.
The Force, the Jedi. All of it.
They put The Last Jedi in front of The Force Awakens too.
It's all true.
Star Wars The Force Awakens was Disney's first attempt to rekindle the magic of the original trilogy, and it did, but perhaps a little too much. The Force Awakens is often criticized for a plot that borrows too heavily from A New Hope, and while that may be true, the film uses those familiar elements, a chosen one from a desert planet, an army of space fascists, a planet that is also a big laser cannon, as a foundation to build something new. But while it does introduce new planets, new aliens, and new lightsaber designs, Episode 7's new characters are its greatest contribution to the series. Its heroes Rey, Finn, Poe, and BB-8 give the film much of its charm, and the dark and mysterious relationship between Kylo Ren and Supreme Leader Snoke that gives it its menace. While you can nitpick the particulars of the plot, the film ultimately achieved its goal. It made Star Wars fun and exciting again.
Did it? Did it though? I don't know. I think it made a lot of people mad.
You are being rescued.
Or indecisive.
Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, proves
Last
that
Jedi made
stories
people
in the
mad.
Star Wars universe
Force Awakens
don't
made people
need to
indecisive.
revolve around the Jedi Order or Skywalker family drama to be a hit. Jyn Erso and her ragtag group of unlikely rebels made a strong impression on the audience before meeting a noble end, and their theft of the original Death Star plans was not only an engaging adventure from start to finish, but a strong shift in tone for the franchise, one that really put the war into Star Wars. However, even if you didn't know that the film had quite a lot of behind-the-scenes creative issues, you probably noticed them. The story has several dead ends and contradictions, none more egregious than the plotline involving Saw Gerrera. What is his role in the movie supposed to be exactly? Yet, despite these obvious flaws, Rogue One comes together in the end, delivering one of the best third-act battles in a franchise full of absolutely amazing third-act battles. Darth Vader has never been more badass than in those final moments, even if it does muddy the waters of the opening to A New Hope if you think about it for more than a second.
Okay, you better have a good explanation for Last Jedi this high, buddy.
Star Wars The Last Jedi's sole credited writer and director, a cinematic distinction shared only by George Lucas, Rian Johnson put an authorial stamp on the galaxy far, far away that few in the Star Wars world ever get to attempt. And the result was the best and most hotly debated Star Wars film since the original trilogy. The ways Johnson moved the pieces J.J. Abrams set in play challenged many pillars of the mythology. The Chosen One archetype, Luke's heroic reputation, the clear delineation of dark and light. Though it suffers from a meandering espionage subplot and a ticking clock dilemma that could be solved with a little bit of communication, The Last Jedi also boasts dazzling action sequences and an especially rich and emotional storyline between Luke Skywalker, Rey, and Kylo Ren. More than anything, The Last Jedi is admirable in its unwavering enthusiasm for Star Wars' potential. With the theme of moving on from the past at the heart of everything it does, the film wraps up with a peace and purpose that few other films in the series find. Echoing the lately redeemed Luke Skywalker seeing the binary sunset of his isolated youth in his final moments, a nameless womp rat of a kid on Cantonica raises a defiant broom, yes, broom, to a galaxy which he feels empowered to be a part of, whether or not he has a famous last name.
The best thing about The Last Jedi is its visuals. If we're going off of Star Wars movies in general, what is the most beautiful movie? What has the best cinematography, the best, I guess special effects, but just like the best atmosphere? We're talking scenery. It's The Last Jedi. Last Jedi is the best looking Star Wars movie overall. But as far as anything else goes, it is not a good Star Wars movie. I mean, I could see an argument for a good movie, but if you're talking Star Wars, it portrays everything that makes a Star Wars movie, and you cannot put it this high. You can especially not put it over Revenge of the Sith. Like, that's just, you just can't do that. That's something that we all know. So, oof, man, this list is getting rough. But here we go. We're getting to the original three. So, they probably can't mess this up anymore as long as Return of the Jedi, and looks like it is. Return of the Jedi is number 3 on your list. 4 and 5 can switch. So, that's okay.
After leaving fans on a big cliffhanger in Episode 5, Star Wars Return of the Jedi had to deliver both a satisfying follow-up and a fitting ending for our beloved heroes and villains, and that's exactly what it did. There's the self-contained rescue mission where 2 robots and a wizard go to a crime lord's palace and try to steal a piece of wall art that just so happens to have a certain scoundrel trapped in it. There's the exhilarating speeder bike chase through a dense and deadly forest. And sure, there are some questionable bits. The revelation that Luke and Leia are siblings, even though they smooched before, the gigantic space battle and destruction of yet
They didn't know
another
each other.
ball-shaped
I mean, they didn't know
superweapon.
they were
And then there's the
siblings in the
Ewoks,
game.
who may have been shoehorned in to appeal to kids, but in the end kind of win you over because they are an adorable on the surface, but ultimately murderous gang of tree bears who play drums on the skulls of their enemies. It all culminates in one of the best and most crucial lightsaber fights in the series between father and son, and overseen by a seething emperor trying to tear them apart, even though it's he who unites them. Yeah, it's campy, but underneath it all are some serious conflicts and ultimately bittersweet goodbyes to some of the most iconic characters in movie history.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
That's one thing you have to admit. Like, even though Return of the Jedi isn't the strongest of the original trilogy, it is a very solid finale to the entire saga. The first 6 films. It is very solid. It feels like a great conclusion, you know, even if it isn't as good as some of the previous movies that came before it. It just feels right. They did it right, and then the sequels came. But that's a video for another time. Let's continue.
Engrossing, moving, endlessly rewatchable, Star Wars A New Hope is the one that started it all. Set in a galaxy where the evil empire has already won and the heroic Jedi Knights are only a memory, George Lucas started building his grand sci-fi saga from the middle out. The hermit Ben Kenobi wistfully recalls the days of the Clone Wars to farm boy Luke Skywalker and bemoans the incivility of blasters in comparison to the more elegant lightsaber. It gave the world of the story a lived-in feel, and the seemingly inescapable grip of the Empire casts an air of despair over the New Hope, one personified by the villain to end all villains, Darth Vader.
Commander, tear this ship apart until you found those plans and bring me the passengers. I want them alive.
A New Hope blends elements of sci-fi, fantasy, western, samurai, and war films with pioneering visual effects that laid the groundwork for blockbusters as we know them today. It's as much a visual achievement as it is a narrative one, and brought together with John Williams' legendary score, Episode 4 is one of the best films ever made, yet it's only number 2 on this list. That's right, there is another.
Yeah, Episode 4 and Episode 5, in my opinion, could switch. You know what I mean? For me, Episode 3 is the best Star Wars movie, but, like, as far as second place goes, Episode 5 and 4, it depends on how I'm feeling. They could take either way. They're either second or third, you know, they switch.
Join us.
Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back remains the gold standard of Star Wars movies. With A New Hope having planted the seeds for the franchise, Empire blossoms in thrilling and surprisingly dark fashion. As a relentless Darth Vader hunts the heroes of the Rebel Alliance, we're treated to Han and Leia's screwball romance, as well as Luke's training under the out-of-his-mind, just kidding, Jedi Master Yoda. And Empire deepens our sense of what the Force is. Not just a telekinetic push or a trick of the mind, but a spiritual power that connects all life. Episode 5 expands the Star Wars universe in numerous ways. New planets, new aliens, Imperial walkers, bounty hunters, all the while telling an exciting, multi-layered story. And the stakes of that story don't hinge on a planet-destroying weapon or the fate of the galaxy, but on more personal conflicts, like how much its characters are willing to sacrifice for the greater good or being called to a task they may not be prepared for. That latter point is sorted out in a tense, drawn-out lightsaber duel through the bowels of Cloud City, resulting in a 1-2 punch of dismemberment and revelation that still ranks among the most memorable cinematic moments of all time. Star Wars just doesn't get better than this.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough.
He told me you killed me.
He told me you killed him.
No. I'm your father.
And that's IGN's ranking of all the Star Wars movies. Do you agree, or do you have a bad feeling about this ranking?
Yeah, I have a bad feeling about this ranking. Here's the thing. I understand your arguments. Like, I feel like I understand where your arguments are coming from. I just disagree with some of them. But then again, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Just some people have bad opinions, and ultimately, putting Last Jedi at number 4, that's a bad opinion. So hey, that's the way it is. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? How would you rank these movies? Let me know in the comments. If you guys find any videos you want to see me react to that has like another controversial ranking list, it doesn't just have to be Star Wars. It can be Marvel or DC, or it can be anything. Just let me know in the comments below. If I use your suggestion, I'll give you a shout out in that video. But thanks for watching. Please consider leaving a like, subscribe, notifications for more. And until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace.